Welcome to Born to Ramble with me, Nikki Settlemeyer, a series of disappointments, dating after 30. Please enjoy another excerpt from my work in progress, Neverwife. I had been on a lot of dates, plenty of short term relationships, like less than 3 months, and handful of long term, more serious ones too. I had been in love many times in my younger years, and I loved being in love. But by the time I hit my early 30s, the thought of actually choosing a lifelong partner seemed obscene. How could a person go through so many relationships and experience the frailty, the flakiness of so many people and honestly think, wow, I'm sure one day I'll meet a version of one of these creatures who I'll commit the rest of my life to and trust them and believe I'll be satisfied until one of us dies? When the evidence shows, the data shows, they all fail somewhere along the way. After 4 months of bliss, or 9 months of euphoria, or a year of relative sanity, something is bound to show up. I can see how this naive optimism could occur in a teenage brain or a 20 something brain, but by the time the 30s hit, come on. Jaded doesn't begin to describe it. I don't have time to go into every single disappointment. I'm sure I was a disappointment to many men as well. But at a certain point, this is what we bring to a first date at PF Chang's. Our history of disappointments and a cynical attitude. A look in the eye that says, I'm only here to figure out what's wrong with you so I can move on to the next. So when I met Derek on that fateful Friday night, July 23rd, 2021 to be exact, I was stunned by how well we hit it off. Sure, in our few and brief conversations leading up to this night, it was obvious the goal of the meetup was sex. But as I sat there on the couch with him, our conversation just flowed. I was actually having fun talking to Derek. It was so unlike meeting other guys where the conversation felt like pushing a boulder back and forth, trying to get through the QA portion of the date. Derek knew every TV, movie, and song reference I made. He was funny. He knew about inner child work. I had never met a man I enjoyed talking to so much. The following night, July 24th, I went out with Rebecca for her birthday at Medieval Times. On the ride there, I told her, so I met a guy last night. Oh God, she groaned. Listen, this one was different. He was smart and fun and so nice. This disclosure alone was rare. I told Rebecca a lot, but there were duds here and there who deserved no mention. For example, I had told her about Luno, a gypsy with serious mental illness that I'd mistaken for creativity and a free spirit. Every time I saw him, a total of 3 meetups or mashups was weirder than the last, so I couldn't possibly keep these stories to myself. I met Luno online a month after the COVID lockdown started. He was cute in every one of his profile pictures, claimed to love writing and traveling, and he even provided a link to his website. He seemed well read, empathetic, and voiced the same social views as me. We agreed he would come to my apartment and go directly into the shower. I bought him a loofah and a travel-sized soap, set out a clean towel for him. This way, he'd be perfectly clean for our first date, COVID-free. I know this isn't probably the most effective way to prevent COVID transmission, but it was new to all of us at the time. Unlike many guys I'd met online, Luno looked even better in person than in his profile. He was tall, super good looking, fit, and he had beautiful hair and eyes, long legs. When he arrived, I heard him climbing the stairs to my apartment and then saw him through the window. He knocked and I waved him in, ushered him to the bathroom. He didn't even try to hug me, just followed the agreement as we'd planned. Very respectful. When he came out of the bathroom, he had changed clothes and his hair was combed back, slicked back. But it didn't look skeevy. He looked like he had just played a winning soccer game and came out of the locker room. Do you want something to drink? Sure, he said. I've got Diet Sunkissed, water, coffee, or hot tea. Oh, what kind of tea? Green, cinnamon, or I've got this delicious turmeric tea. Let me make you the turmeric. It's so good. I'll take it. As I waited for the water to heat in the kitchen, Luno made himself comfortable on my couch. My cat, Marty, waltzed over to him and smelled his legs, then jumped on the couch next to him. Luno petted Marty's head, and Marty nuzzled up against him. Hey, this is a cool cat, man. Then to Marty, he said, Hey, little buddy, do you like that? Marty hated my ex boyfriend, the alpha male, so this was a good sign. Marty confirmed that Luno was safe to be in the house with us. I took 2 matching Dolly Parton coffee cups from the cupboard and dropped a tea bag into each one, then poured the hot water into each cup. This is when Luno began telling his life story. I handed him his cup and then set mine on the coffee table before taking a seat on the couch next to him. I watched and listened as Luno animatedly told his story, and I enjoyed the live entertainment after 6 weeks of no human contact. He was like a one-man show. It was an immersive experience. There was comedy, singing, dancing from the waist up. 2 cups of tea and 1 bathroom break later, Luno had gotten to age 24 in his verbal autobiography. I went to Embry-Riddle. It's like a really good aviation school. It's like the best. I nodded. I loved his use of air quotes around really good. I graduated like top of my class, more air quotes. And I got a job like right away as an air traffic controller. And I was like, I want to blow my fucking head off. He burst out laughing. He was definitely cuckoo, but harmless. I was like a meteorologist, except I wasn't even on TV. I was just talking on a microphone all day, giving weather reports. I didn't know any of that, I said. I just thought you were a really good writer. Your website is so good. His website, lunotrexandtreats.com, was filled with beautiful photos he'd taken across the country and accompanying journalistic-esque blogs. You read it? Of course. I'm not going to invite you to my house and buy you your own loofah without looking into you. Ha! Yeah, that's right. You got to be careful. His smile was both devilish and adorable. Do you like the tea? I asked. It's so good. I'm all about the turmeric. Yep, I said. I'm on the turmeric train. Show me the package, he said. I want to get some. I walked out to the kitchen and came back with the box. Tazo brand turmeric bliss. I found it at Walmart of all places, I said. I steal from Walmart all the time. What? I laughed. Are you joking? Oh, all the time. Is this like a mania or something? Kleptomania? Fucking Walmart. Do you know how rich the Waltons are? And they purposely don't pay the employees enough so they have to be on food stamps and welfare? Yeah, I've heard that. And they only prosecute if you steal over $45. So I'll steal like $39 or something just to be sure I'm under 45 because, tax. Sure, I smiled. I could not wait to tell my friends about this guy. I always wear my cargo shorts and then I'll take like protein bars and vitamins. Oh my God, I laughed. There's probably glossy photos of you posted at the Walmart headquarters, like how they used to post, do not take checks from this person. Plus, I've been living in my car since I left my job, so I live by strict principles. You've been living in your car? I looked for my phone and spotted it on the kitchen counter. Yeah, like Nomadland? Everyone was watching Nomadland and Tiger King during lockdown, so Frances McDormand living in a van in Quartzsite, Arizona was fresh in my mind. I went into the kitchen and quickly texted Rebecca. Text me, please, on a date, safe, but need distraction. Exactly, he said. I brought a brand new Prius and I gutted it. He pulled out his phone. Here's me in the flash. He held out his phone to my face, displaying a picture of himself next to a silver Prius, the longest one I'd ever seen. Luno was giving 2 thumbs up, flashing a smile so big you'd think it was his first time on the log ride at Disneyland. I built a fold-out table and shelves. Flash and I have traveled to every state in the country in the past 13 months. So, what are your principles? My phone beeped. Oh, sorry, this is my friend. Just a minute. Take your time, he said. My mind was spinning as I pretended to process her message and then type back. I wasn't ready to kick him out, but I just needed an exit strategy to make sure he wasn't trying to sleep over or worse, stay for a while. I mean, my apartment was pretty nice compared to a Prius. Okay, that was my friend Rebecca. I'm bringing her groceries tonight, so she's just adding a few things to her list. But anyway, go on. He didn't miss a beat. Right. So the principles are first, $10 a day, which is why I started stealing from Walmart. I never steal from small stores, only big companies like Walmart or Kroger. I don't do drugs unless someone gives them to me. And that also goes for smoking and drinking. No drinking and driving. I never stay in one place more than 3 nights. I take a picture of the moon every night. I try to see as much live music as possible, read 4 books per month, write every day, and during football season, I make a meal inspired by one team every Sunday. There's a lot more, but that's like the big ones. Luna was fun, but his mental illness became more apparent the more I learned about him. I thought it best to cut ties completely. He would text me when he'd pass through Phoenix for any number of gig jobs he happened upon, delivering flowers, dog sitting, trafficking magic mushrooms, but I just quit responding. So you can see why I'd want to tell my friends about Luno in the same way I'd share about a crazy documentary I'd just seen. But there were others like Crandler who I didn't mention to a soul. Crandler was a 40-something-year-old man who lived in one of the filthiest apartments I had ever seen. He was a has-been indie circuit wrestler whose claim to fame was wearing leopard print bell bottoms and a purple do-rag. Crandler had maintained his wrestler physique and he was very cute, but he was also the definition of a douchebag. Arrogant, offensive, self-important, repugnant, gorgeous calves. But probably due to his good looks, he had been given opportunities that ugly poor people wouldn't have gotten, which is why on his profile he had pictures of himself golfing, very tan, very cute, and attending gala events. Again, in retrospect, there's no way the clothes were his, and looking overall gorgeous. I'm sure women with money but low self esteem, more money than me, less self esteem than me, had dressed him up to accompany them to events. This, I believe, is also why he was living like a hobo, but incredibly full of himself. He was an aspiring personal trainer, realtor, and musician. Aren't they all? But he wasn't succeeding at anything. I immediately pegged Crandler for someone I'd hate fuck. Hate fucking is something that only came into my life in my late 30s. Hate fucking is the result of primitive urges met with modern day frustration. Fantasy meets the low bar of reality, and the consequence is a fire breathing woman or me peeling out of a parking lot with the smell of some shithead on my upper lip, and all I want is a donut and a shower. On our second date, he showed me a VHS. Yes, a VHS of him performing at a wrestling event, complete with him walking out to Thunder by AC/DC. His opponent was dancing around the ring in knee high red boots and matching hot pants. Crandler wore his signature low rise, stretchy leopard bell bottoms. He mounted the ropes at the corner of the ring, waving his arms in the air to get the crowd riled up. I didn't think I could get any more turned off. But then he said, "I want to play a song for you." He sat next to me on the couch and started strumming the guitar. I didn't recognize the song, but it had all the vibes of something from a 90s Bon Jovi set list. I started laughing and I could not stop. There was no coming back. There was no way I could summon up any semblance of lust for a man who sang like this. And it wasn't just that he was a terrible singer, it was that while he was doing it, he was imitating the movements and facial expressions a talented musician makes. But it was like a caricature of a musician, like watching a friend of Beavis and Butthead. I blurted out, "You are so hot, but you're so bad. And I think no one has told you how bad you are because you're so hot." I had overstayed my welcome. He suggested I leave, and I agreed. I couldn't help but desire the masses of men lumbering around the planet. This is the curse of heterosexuality and hormones. I wanted to be overcome by the power of a man who was smart, with a vicious wit, an interesting fashion sense, and employment. But the older I got, each time I set out on an adventure filled with the anticipation of days gone by, the chances I'd leave laughing at myself, duped again, were greater and greater. When I was young, there was an endless supply of gorgeous men to work through. And for the most part, they looked good, They smelled great. And for our age group, they could offer me something that was enough, like a meal at Red Lobster. However, in the later years, namely after 30, the disappointments began to outweigh the benefits of a man's body. For example, AJ. We met online and decided to meet in person at a Mexican restaurant after work one night. He was shorter than he'd said, of course. He wore a leather jacket from 1992 and pleated khaki pants. He had the oddest mouth I had ever seen on a human. He only picked full, not broken chips from the basket, dipped them in the salsa, and then shoved the whole chip in his mouth. When he opened his mouth, it was like a two-phased action. First it opened, and then it opened again, wider, beyond the width of the chip. It appeared his jaw had become unhinged to accommodate his prey. I mean, the chip. I could barely hear a word he was saying. He was talking about his nephews, who he referred to as team players. And I Googled reptile mouth that gets bigger. I knew I had seen this thing before. He just kept talking. I found a video on YouTube of a snake eating a rabbit. Yes, that's exactly what I was witnessing. So, yeah, I just love them. They're little team players. There was that phrase again. Excuse me, I said, grabbing my purse. I went to the bar and handed $10 to our waitress. I told her, I'm on a first date with that guy over there and I can't take it anymore. This is for my drink. We haven't ordered yet. She gave me a little smile and a wink. I left. When I was younger, I was so boy crazy, so driven by lust, that I could overlook just about anything to make out with someone. But the older I got, the more intolerable the little things became.